This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Right now on 1480 K-Ray, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 K-Ray. And good morning, Larry Proietti along with Nick Proietti, and our first very special guest. He is the athletics director at the University of Wyoming, Tom Burman. We haven't had a chance to talk to Tom in a long time. Good morning, Tom. How you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
We're doing good. I was hoping there was that 7-second delay there. Tom,
I apologize.
No, that's all right. We haven't had a chance to chat with you in a long time. And, things have developed over a course of time. And again, I think back to the key saying in draft day, things are different 30 seconds ago. But, you look at the transfer portal, and I'm going to get into that right away, and explain to our listening audience a little bit about this transfer portal. The University of Wyoming losing a few of our football players after the season's end. Why are they transferring, or I guess that'd be the first question. Why are they transferring, and tell us a little bit about this transfer portal.
Well, I answer the second part first. The transfer portal is, the NCAA had a rule forever that if you leave an institution, you had to sit 1 year at the new institution. So it made it very difficult for young people to transfer from school to school because they had to sit out a year, and kids don't like to sit. So when they eliminated that rule, and that was a decision that was going to be forced by the courts, and the NCAA chose at the end of the day to just change it before the courts forced them to change it. So this is the second year where kids have what I would call some level of free agency. And we have 11 or 12 kids in the transfer portal right now. A few of those had used up or had graduated, not used up their eligibility, but had a degree from the University of Wyoming and are seeking to go play somewhere else their last year. And a few of them had multiple years of eligibility left. And why they are leaving varies kid to kid. Sometimes they believe their best opportunity to make it to the NFL is to go somewhere else, like Isaiah Nayor. I think in his mind he believed that the greatest opportunity for him to showcase his skills was at a school like Texas, is where he ended up. And you couple that with the new rules regarding name, image, and likeness, which allow a young person to be compensated for their name, image, and likeness, which before had been an NCAA violation. When you go to a school like Texas, your opportunities to cash in on that are greater than they are in Laramie, Wyoming. So I'd be naive if I said I don't think that has something to do with it in a couple kids' case. In a couple of the other kids, they didn't feel like they were going to get the playing time going forward they wanted. A couple of them, it had to do with he got engaged, and his fiance is a volleyball player at Utah State University, so he wanted to be closer to her. And some of them, after 4 years, just were tired of Laramie and tired of the university, and they wanted something different, which, if I was at Arizona State for 4 years, I might want something different too, and I might transfer to Laramie. But in the case of Xavier Valladay, he had 4 years at the University of Wyoming, graduated, and Arizona State made him an offer for 1 year, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to go to Arizona State. So there are roughly 1,500 football players in the transfer portal right now, and there are schools in our league with 30 players in the portal. And so obviously at Wyoming, we don't like having kids leave us after a bowl game, and it kind of in some respects caught us a little bit off guard. It is what it is, and now we got to learn to play in that space and figure out how to manage it, because we're going to have more turnover going forward than we're used to. It's just much easier for kids to leave than it used to be.
Especially some of the superstars that kind of really turned it up in that bowl game there, the famous Potato Ellie's Bowl. But for you, Tom, you mentioned the NIL, which, again, has been a hotbed topic for a couple of years with the NCAA. Again, glad that it's in place. But for your perspective, Tom, as we talk about, again, student athletes getting that opportunity, again, as you see some of these contracts, or again, money's kind of doled out to Alabama athletes, or again, University of Florida, just to name a few schools. Does that worry you going forward, that, especially here in the Mountain West Conference, a Boise State, a Colorado State, some of these kind of bigger institutions that are in those bigger cities that could find those kind of corporate sponsors that dole out kind of high-end deals, or again, likeness rights for those athletes? Does that make you worried that it's going to affect the University of Wyoming, that we could be at a disadvantage, especially when it comes to getting those top-tier athletes to Laramie, Wyoming?
Yeah, I would say it concerns me. I mean, we have never, you mentioned the Floridas and Texas and the Alabamas. I mean, we have never competed with those schools before. The scary part now is our kids could transfer, like Isaiah did, to those kind of institutions, and if they are in a position to make significantly more money, that's going to make it more desirable to look at that. Whereas in the past, that wasn't as easy or something they did. With respect to the other schools in the Mountain West, Boise State, CSU, San Diego State, they have some advantages in the fact that there's more corporate business there. But I would say, on the other hand, they don't have a huge advantage over us, because their passion level is different. I mean, we have really passionate people, and if this is going to be the new space, how we're going to make this work, I think we're going to find people that love the Cowboys, and they're going to dig a little deeper. And if they have a small business in Cheyenne or in Casper or in Laramie, and there's a way they can provide some NIL monies to a young man, if he or she will do some work for them, will promote their business on their social media accounts, will come into the business and sign autographs, or whatever they want to do, they can now pay that young person. I think they'll adjust their advertising budget and start to do that. We're starting to see that. But if it really gets high end, and it's where kids are making $25,000 to $50,000, that's going to be a disadvantage for the businesses in Wyoming and for us. But so far, at our level, that is not happening. And the other thing I would say to you, a lot of stuff that we're reading about how much kids are being compensated is being produced by kids and their agents, and they're not always making those kind of dollars that they are alleging they will make, which is I find kind of funny right now. But I am naive. I'm not naive. Ohio State, Bama, Michigan, they're paying kids a lot of money. But I don't think you're going to see that at Boise State and Colorado State.
Tom, do we have some concerns with our football program, again, from an athletic director standpoint? Again, we're going to bowls, so nobody's going to gripe about that. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're kind of mediocre bowls, because our record has been mediocre. But do you have some concerns within the football program that we're just not getting to that top tier yet?
I wouldn't say. I don't know if concern is the right word. I want to be a champ, and we hosted a championship game 4 years ago, and we got to get back to that. And I think we felt that this year was going to be a special year. I really believe we felt as a staff and coaches and athletes that this team could have been special early on. Obviously, we didn't perform necessarily at that special level. We weren't bad, and actually at times we were pretty darn good. But we weren't consistent enough. So, our goal is to compete at the highest level and compete for a championship in the Mountain West. And I don't think we're that far away. I think this year was, I wouldn't call it a disaster by any stretch of the imagination, but it wasn't what we went into the season expecting. So the answer to your question is, are we monitoring it? Are we paying attention? Yes. Are we concerned that our program's going the wrong way? No. I still feel our program is going the right way, and I think we're close to getting over the hump. I mean, we got to remember, if you look at the last 25 years of Wyoming football, we haven't been a program that just wins 8 or 9 games very often, and so we have to understand who we are before we can become what we want to be.
So this season, Tom, as for the Wyoming Cowboys finishing 6-6, 2-6 in the Mountain West Conference, again, got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl bid to take on Kent State, which, again, the Cowboys did become victorious in that bowl game. Regarding the bowl game, again, as we know, about 86 teams in NCAA Division I get that opportunity to at least participate in the bowl game. Did the University of Wyoming, did we break even with this bowl game? Did we lose money? Did we gain money? Let's talk about the financials from attending the Idaho Potato Bowl this season.
Bowl games at our level never make money. It doesn't matter if we're going to Poinsettia Bowl to play BYU or we're going to Idaho to play Kent State. We lose money. We don't lose a lot of money, though. I would imagine, and I don't have the figures in front of me, we're talking less than $100,000 we lost in total expenses, probably in the neighborhood of 50. But we budget for that. We budgeted for a bowl game this year, and when we do that, we plan for some additional expenses. I mean, when we send our track team to go compete at the NCAA championships, we lose money. When we send our wrestlers to the NCAA championships, we lose money. It's kind of what we do in this business. The only championships where your expenses are truly covered almost completely are NCAA men's and women's basketball.
And speaking of which, we'll get off the football program. We'll move on to hoops. And very impressive start, and again, Mountain West Conference start too as well for Jeff Linder's group. Again, the Cowgirls kind of sitting there in mid-pack, but as you're talking about a possibility of making some money in basketball, this Cowboy team that we are throwing on the floor right now has that possibility to take us to that next level.
I would agree. They're off to a great start, and 15-2, and play tonight against Boise State on the road, which will be a great challenge. But they are fun to watch and very competitive, and they've overcome some adversity with whether it be COVID or injuries. And I'm very proud of them, and I think you're right. I think we have a chance to compete for a championship this year in men's basketball. I'm a little discouraged with the women's team. I thought we would be more consistent than we are, and hopefully we can get that figured out before we get too close to the Mountain West tournament. But I was hopeful both these programs would compete in the top level of the league, and right now the men are doing it, and hopefully the women can figure it out.
With the situation, and I'm glad you brought up COVID, and again, too, we're running through these issues even on the JUCO side as well. Tom, to the fan that wants to come out to the arena auditorium and cheer on the Pokes or the Cowgirls, I guess some suggestions for that fan, that might be hesitant to come out, and sit down and watch a couple hours of Wyoming Cowboys basketball.
Or at least piggyback on top of that again again, some folks were upset of at least what happened at home against Boise State.
That's one of those, Tom, I think you'll agree with me, that's one of those anomalies that, that's the way of the world today.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad. I felt terrible for our fans who made the long trek here for the Boise State game, and then we canceled the game 30 minutes in advance. And it wasn't anything the University of Wyoming did or did not do. What happened in that scenario was Boise State left Boise the day before and had tested clean, and then arrived the next morning that night, and some of their players and staff started feeling shaky, and so they tested. They had some positive tests, but not a whole bunch. But as we're learning, you don't always test positive even when you have COVID until you've had COVID for a few days. So they were working with their Department of Health back in Idaho, and their Department of Health, they were trying to make the argument that they should be allowed to play. They were making some contact tracing arguments with the Department of Health. And at the end of the day, the Department of Health said, nope, you can't play. You don't have enough kids because we're saying all these kids have to be contact traced. So we waited, and finally they said, nope, we can't play. So we announced it, and I did feel bad for our fan base. I felt bad for the players. It was frustrating. But for a fan who wants to come over right now, and if you are concerned about COVID, one is, I would say, come over, wear a mask. The one nice thing, we have 11,000 seats. You're going to find a place to sit if you want to where there's not going to be people around you. You can socially distance if you'd like, or you can get right in the middle of it, because now we're starting to have, I think we had almost 6,000 people at our last game. I would imagine the next couple of games are going to be in that crowd level. So the lower level is kind of crowded, and I'm not going to lie to you, there aren't many people wearing masks. This is Wyoming, and it's kind of not in our culture. But if you're uncomfortable, there's plenty of ways you can be safe.
Let's talk about one last thing here, because I know our time is short with you. On testing, and again, too, obviously you've got your eye involved in all of these testing. Do they test on a daily basis? So if Coach Linder has practice today and a game that's on tap for tomorrow, is it basically you're being tested almost regularly?
It depends on where you go. For example, right now we're in Boise, and they're not requiring testing. But when you go to California and you play at San Diego State, you're going to be tested when you get off the plane. The good news is, for the most part, our entire team has had COVID, and we have also had all other kids who haven't now have got boosted. So when you've been boosted and when you've been properly vaccinated, in most markets, you don't have to be tested. What happened to us early is we didn't have a lot of kids boosted, and we had a couple of kids who were positive, and then we had to test everyone, and so we found some more positives than we thought we had, and that's why we ended up canceling some games here a few weeks ago. But the good news for us is, knocking on wood, I think we're through the COVID stuff on our end, because for the most part, all of our coaches, staff, and players have had it or been boosted.
And last thought before we let you go, postponements of games, or are they lost games in the conference?
Well, we just rescheduled the Boise game for February 3rd, and we rescheduled the Fresno game for February 8th, the road game at Fresno State. So the only game right now that is not rescheduled is the San Diego State game, which was scheduled to be here in Laramie. We are still trying to find a date that works for San Diego State and Wyoming and the TV partner, and hopefully we can do that. But if otherwise, if you had a ticket for the Boise State game a few weeks back, you just show up with that ticket on February 3rd to the arena and scan it, and it'll work, and you'll be in the venue.
All right, Tom. Hey, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time today. Again, answering a couple of questions that we had here on this side of the house. We appreciate it, and best of luck to all of the Polk teams.
I appreciate it. Just a heads up, I gave you February 8th. It was February 6th. We play Sunday at Fresno, not February 8th. My fault.
So a lot of games getting condensed in a very short period of time.
It is. I do worry about our kids a little bit. You play too many times. You play 4 games in 8 days during the season, you risk injury. So we got to be a little bit thoughtful.
All right, Tom. Thank you again. We appreciate it. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Tom Burman, University of Wyoming Athletic Director on 1480 K-Ray, is again answering the question to the transfer portal. And again, at the University of Wyoming, our small institution, Nick, and I know we need to take a break, but our small institution, that's 12 kids. That's a lot of kids that are entering the transfer portal. Well, he mentioned other schools had more, but still in Laramie, that's a lot.
And again, it is the nature of the beast of what is the opportunity with that transfer portal. And again, whether it is NIL opportunities to go to those bigger schools,
culture.
Culture. It's something where even for our offensive pieces as well too. Again, you talk about your 2 main quarterbacks. Again, your running back. Again, he even kind of admitted, hey, some folks just might get tired of being in Laramie, which again is completely understandable. So, it is something with the Cowboys that again do appreciate Tom kind of at least what we asked him about what his thoughts are at least of the football program. Hey, there is not so much concern, but again keeping an eye on it due to the fact that again it's been we've under the Craig Bull era, which again we've talked plenty about on this show or other iterations of Wyoming Sports Talk today.
It to death.
It is something that again there's still no Mountain West Championship. Again, the last prestigious bowl that we went to was at Poinsettia. The rest has been Idaho Potato, and again an Arizona Bowl.
The
which
Arizona
again,
Bowl is a total dog.
Yeah, and again you're facing opponents right now that are in the MAC, which again is kind of the same. Right there of that mid-major conference where, again, you don't really get a true test. And, again, it's kind of reflected in those victories for the Wyoming Cowboys. Again.
But think about those 6 victories to get us bowl eligible. I mean, let's be real honest, fans, on the preseason. That was a cream puff schedule. There was really – if you didn't go 4-0 on that schedule, then something would have been wrong. But you almost lost at UConn where you were favored by 30 points.
Yeah, UConn that was winless at the time. Again, you're taking Montana State that again is albeit again they made it to the FCS championship, but again they're an FCS team. They're down there for a reason. It's something, and again that game also too was at home, so it's an alarming situation at least on our end. And again, good to hear that the athletic department's keeping an eye on. Where again right now under the 8 seasons, and again you can toss out whatever season you want to for the Wyoming Cowboys or at least for Craig Bull, but again overall 45-50, 27-35 in Mountain West Conference play. It's not going to get done back-to-back years where you won only 2 games in the Mountain West Conference, or again in back-to-back years you lost to New Mexico, you lost to kind of lesser teams.
You lost to Hawaii coming off the island.
Yeah, coming at least here to Laramie for the final regular season game.
You made a good point though too in the Mountain Division. We're still under 500, and again if you want to throw
that's not even the Mountain Division, that's Mountain West.
Why? Yeah, but if you want to even throw out the 2 seasons that he came in where he had holdovers from the Christensen era, okay, fine, you can do that. You're still barely, if you are that, at 500. It's not really all that impressive.
If you minus the 2014-2015 season, doing a quick calculation, it would be 23 and. Actually, it looks like you'd be about 500, so 23-23.
You're at the Mendoza line. And again, like I said earlier when we were talking with the athletic director, Don Burman, again, the famous Potato Bowl, the Arizona Bowl, famous Potato Bowl, they're mediocre bowls, Nick. The payouts are not good, and even Tom said it. They lose money.
Which, again, we had a feeling that was reality for the Wyoming Cowboys. Again, this is something that again, it is kind of that participation medal bowl that, again, 86 teams are eligible for postseason play here in the NCAA, which, again, in my opinion, is a little ridiculous. But it is something that Tom kind of even admitted to, going, hey, in the past we didn't have this fortune. So, again, it's kind of that not so much desperation, but, hey, let's take it while we got it because, again, we haven't had anything like this. Now, and again, it skews a bit with the amount of teams that are now being eligible. Again, 6-6 teams, you were not guaranteed a bowl game. And again, we've seen Cowboy teams that in the past, even under the Craig Bowl era, that were 6-6 and basically got denied due to the fact of what was going on around the Mountain West Conference.
Joe Tiller's 10-3 team.
But anyways, outside of that, again, the big issue right now, outside of, again, losing these contests, is that offense, even with the removal, or at least with Brent Vegan, not even removal, but again, him accepting the head coach job at Montana State, again, offense we thought was his fault, or again, we were putting the blame on that guy, again, you and the rest of the Cowboy fans around this state. But again, we look at this season for what Craig Bull and company did, they were near dead last. Pretty much outside of the running game, they were pretty much dead last. Again, points for, passing yards, offensive total yards. Again, they were near dead last out of 19, 21 teams.
This was a veteran team, too. So, again, like I said to the Cowboy fan out there, if you like being mediocre, then you're gonna get mediocre right now. I don't believe, and even looking ahead towards the 2022 season, and again, especially with some of the big names that are leaving, it's going to be a rebuild year. So we're gonna hear from the head coach saying, "Hey, we lost this, we lost that. We're gonna plug into this. We're gonna plug this person in."
Which
here.
We'll see.
Do we have to rebuild every year?
Is that going to be a valid excuse moving forward? Again, where if the athletic department is keeping an eye on this team, again, Why do other institutions reload and yet we have to rebuild when we lose entities, or again when we have graduation or transfers? Again, why is it that the University of Wyoming has to rebuild?
Because we're not consistent, Nick.
But anyways, again, if you let me finish my point, it's something that for the Wyoming Cowboys, again, it's more so for head coach Craig Bohl of under 8 seasons, again, still sub 500. Yeah, you got a couple bowl games in there, but again, it's against MAC opponents that 9 times out of 10, even Wyoming should be defeating those opponents. It's pretty much of where the quality wins at.
You beat Kent State. That says nothing to me.
But anyways, it's something that for Craig Bohl, how much longer is this era going to last for the Wyoming Cowboys? Again, finishing sub 500 without Mountain West Conference championships. Again, I thought he was on the hot seat a couple seasons ago. I figure after this season he would be once again. Moving forward, does he get a pass next year, and then we got to wait 2 years for this guy to, again, possibly bring a Mountain West championship? I mean, how much? What is the time frame, remaining for Craig Bohl?
I'm past the belief that this guy is going to bring us a Mountain West Conference championship.
I don't believe
I'm past it.
Yeah.
So, and again, like I said, this could possibly be a reload year. I mean, a rebuild year. When are we going to get to reloading this team? Once Josh Allen and that group left, and again, he was blessed the season before with all those wonderful receivers, Gentry, you go right down the list. But now, and then again, we went to the famous Potato Bowl the next year with Allen. We actually had a worse record to get us into the famous Potato Bowl. And it really, I haven't seen anything that has gotten me all excited about this club.
Toss out the Josh Allen years, or at least his era with the Wyoming Cowboys. Again, you look at Craig Bohl, again, the Mountain West and overall, it's a lot more pathetic than what it is currently. Again, Josh Allen and those talented players that are getting in the NFL, to their credit, make that record a hell of a lot prettier than what it should be, or at least what is reality for Craig Bohl right now at the University of Wyoming. But it is something where, folks, if you're happy with going to bowl games where you're going to be the 85th best team in the land, I mean, cheer it on and be happy with it. But if you want to go to that next level with where Fresno State, I would say, Boise has always been at, some of these upper echelon teams in the Mountain West Conference. I mean, hell, you're looking at CSU, where again they're getting their butts kicked year in and year out. But again, they're right now trying to vie to go to a Power 5 conference right now.
Well, like going to the famous Potato Bowl or the Arizona Bowl, that's just like playing in.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
All right, we need to take a time out. We have another special guest joining us here on the Pro Show, Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti. We're back after this timeout on 1480 K-Ray.
Your locally owned and operated radio stations, KYOI FM and 1480 K-Ray AM, are just that, local, serving Cheyenne and Laramie County, where your advertising dollar stays local too. It doesn't end up in Colorado, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, or even New York. We conduct business here, we shop here, and we live here. And we support our entire community 24/7, 365. Just because it has a window dressing doesn't mean it isn't a facade. A reminder from KYOI and 1480 K-Ray. MHP is a certified public accounting and consulting firm located in Bow, Cheyenne, and Fort Collins, offering accounting, tax, and consulting services to businesses, not-for-profit, government, and individual clients. MHP takes pride in their commitment to providing close, personal attention to their clients. They also continue to invest time and resources in continuing education, state-of-the-art computer technology, and valuing their relationships with you. MHP is a proud supporter of local and UW athletics. MHP, 314 West 18th Street, or call 634-2151. No matter what tomorrow brings, some things won't change, like Schwab's commitment to see the world through clients' eyes. That commitment is why Schwab is always here for their clients with clear guidance and committed service to help maintain focus on achieving long-term goals. So whatever happens today, Schwab remains invested in you. Visit schwab.com/Cheyenne to learn how Schwab is ready to help.
Cheyenne Regional Medical Group Smart Exam has the pediatric care your family needs without the waiting room. Use Smart Exam for your child's non-life-threatening symptoms and get a diagnosis and recommended treatment plan from a CRMG provider. Diagnosis takes 1 hour to receive between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekends and holidays. Smart Exam can be used for children ages 4 and older. Use Smart Exam at CheyenneRegional.org/SmartExam for your child's diagnosis.
Check out the huge savings this week at Town & Country Supermarket Liquors. Here are just a few of the terrific weekly specials. It's your one stop to shop for these Super Radio buys heard only right here. Wild Turkey 101 proof Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 1.75 liter bottle, $36.99. Red's Hard Apple Ale, 12-pack, 12-ounce bottles or cans, $14.99. And Platinum 7X Vodka, 1.75 liter bottle, $13.99. Town & Country Supermarket Liquors on the South Greeley Highway, Cheyenne's low price leader.
Sweetie, want some fruit?
You have to use the right tool for the job. A power drill is the wrong tool to slice fruit. Just like an antibiotic is the wrong tool to treat viruses, including colds and flu. Antibiotics are only needed for certain bacterial infections. When they aren't needed, antibiotics won't help you, and the side effects could still hurt you. Ask your healthcare professional when an antibiotic is the right tool and when it's not. Visit cdc.gov/antibiotic-use.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Well, the wise for today, mostly cloudy. Expect the daytime high near 22. Blustery conditions, northerly winds at 10 to 20. A slight chance for snow flurries this afternoon. For tonight, partly cloudy or low drop down to 8 degrees. And for tomorrow, Wednesday, sunshine and windy. Expect the daytime high near 40 degrees. Winds will be southwesterly, 25 to 30, gusting as high as 40 miles per hour. Welcome back to the Pro Show. Larry Proietti along with Nick Proietti. We didn't get a chance to chat with him last night on our LCCC Coaches Show, and we're glad that he can join us. DeWayne Saulsberry, head coach of the LCCC Golden Eagles, and I know Coach will talk about the past couple of games that we had. But, you know, I'm thinking about you and Coach Mack, and we just talked with Athletic Director Tom Burman at the University of Wyoming. And again, as a coach over the last couple of years, I mean, you know, we live in a different world now. I know that as coaches, you develop a routine that you like to follow, as far as a practice schedule, games, and this, that, and the other thing. But in the years now of COVID, that routine pretty much you throw out the window, and it's more like, well, give me the latest medical report, right?
It is. You're just sitting back and you're waiting on COVID tests. And seeing how many guys are going to be available to you. So your routine, it's definitely, Larry, it's a different routine. You're really, really stepping out, and you're trying to make sure that guys are wearing their masks. Guys are taking care of themselves. They're not in large crowds. You're just trying to do anything you can to try to save your season.
Do you have to adjust your practice schedule? So let's just say, for argument's sake, you got a 2-hour window to practice in the rack there, but hey, I don't really want to take chances on wearing them down because of a possible COVID situation. I mean, how do you react and how do you change your schedule around?
It's definitely different. The way that we are kind of doing it here is, me and Deshaun, what we've decided is, we're going to have to play with the guys who are here. So we're not going to change. We're not going to cut our practice time short. But you just don't know who's going to be in your gym that day. If somebody has been exposed, you don't want them around the rest of your team. It's definitely something different, something that you don't. When you want to be a college coach, you want to be a coach, something that you definitely don't practice or anticipate. So you really just have to roll with the punches, and hopefully you have enough to play.
Coach, how much Warriors are as well too were in the preseason in 2021 again didn't have a whole lot of COVID cancellations, or again didn't really have to move games around or postpone or cancel. Again, it was kind of, hey, everything was going smoothly. Now turn the page, 2022, again with the Omicron. Now it's kind of played havoc with a lot of schedules, not even just LCCC, but throughout Region 9, throughout even all the way up to the pros. But is there worry with the athletes right now where here we are at the tail end of the season? Again, folks are dealing with injuries. Again, might be a little tired. We start at least stacking up these games due to cancellations or postponements, trying to get these games in before that end date, before that Region 9 tournament, that there's concern that injuries might at least kind of pick up, or again, we might get a little gassed out as we head into the Region 9 tournament with a lot of games in a short amount of time just due to what's happening in the world.
That's definitely something that stays under your mind. If you can remember last year, we didn't cancel because of COVID, but we canceled games because of snow, and we ended up I think our last stretch there, of conference games. I think you guys can help me if I'm wrong here, can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we played maybe 5 games in 7 days or something like that. So definitely injuries stay in your mind. This is definitely when you really you have to have a bench. You have to have bench play. You have to have some guys you have to have some rest. Get some guys some rest and some things like that. And as you know, at the point guard position right now, it's just not an option for us. So you definitely worry. You worry about everything as a coach, but you definitely worry about just how much energy you're going to have, what your injury situation is going to look like. You just do the best you can with keeping these guys healthy, stretching, lifting weights, those kind of things to make sure that our bodies are as healthy as we can possibly make them.
Coach, and I hate to say this too because it's kind of like biting your fingernails time. The ladies have already postponed their contest with the Lady Thunderbirds coming up on Wednesday over in the RAC. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We were all traveling together in Riverton as well as Rock Springs. So you and our guys and ladies were all, basically next to each other on the bus. So you're going through kind of a biting fingernail time.
Yeah, I mean, if it's as contagious as everyone says it is, and it seems like it is, you definitely we are biting our fingernails and got our fingers crossed and our toes crossed and everything else in trying to, when we get our tests back, hopefully this afternoon, we get most of our tests back. Hopefully this afternoon we don't have a lot of positive tests.
Well, one of the nice things, and now we'll flip it over and let's talk some hoops because that's what we need to do is talk some basketball. We were fortunate. It was postponed, and then it got added back to the schedule. So when we went up and played CWC, it was both men's and women's. And again, it was men's and women's scheduled on Saturday at Rock Springs. So you had a chance to get your guys back out on the floor. We split on the road trip. I guess your thoughts on the split?
You always, that's kind of what you always hope for when you're playing these games is to win your home games and get a split on the road. We really thought that we could have done a better job with Western Wyoming that first half. Just didn't come out and play well. But I am somewhat pleased with our performance this past weekend. You guys know me well enough to know that I'm not pleased whenever we walk off the court and we have the L beside our name.
Let's break down that Western Wyoming game where, again, in the first half, and you kind of even admitted on the post game and even talking with us on the bus that, again, at least a small adjustment getting out of that zone early on. Hey, we might have come away with that victory in Rock Springs, but even with what happened, though, in that first half, give credit to your guys, though, in the second half of where they really stepped it up. Again, we thought early on in that, at least in that second half, again, Western Wyoming up as much as 20, thought, hey, cool, this team's going to notch another win, a part of their 16 already victories here in 2021, 2022. But your guys, though, Coach, they were resilient. They fought back, got it down as low as 3, ran into some interesting foul calls at the end, again, some interesting shot selections, and Western Wyoming as well, too, give credit to them, really stepped it up at the free throw line and hit those shots. But, your guys, though, showed a lot of heart to potentially upset the top dog team right now, at least in our division here in Region 9 North.
I think the top dog team in our region is Eastern Wyoming, but they're the only those guys in Casper are undefeated. Western Wyoming does have a loss, so I think that those are the top dogs in our team right at this moment is Eastern Wyoming and Casper. But no, our guys played. I think we, if we would have came out and played a little bit better, you can't get down by 20 and try to make a serious comeback. We did cut it to a one-possession game, and then If you can remember in that game, Max reached out and fouled a guy, banking on he would miss the free throws, and he jumped up and he stepped up to the free throw line and made those free throws. So, you know, as you guys know, in Region 9, it's a long grind. It's a long haul, and we didn't do what we were supposed to do to try to come away with the upset win on the road. But you know, the great thing about it is we have those guys again, and I can guarantee you we will be much more prepared to play that game than we was this game.
Coach, I want to get your thoughts, and we at least I know Pops had a chance to talk with Ayana about this either post-game or pre-game, at least at Western Wyoming, where, you know, we talk about, again, not to get you in trouble or try to, Coach, but again, you know, compared to Central Wyoming to Western Wyoming in a matter of a 3-day span, you know, Central Wyoming, we pulled off a lot. At least it seemed like, if I stand corrected again, the foul situation was a drastic comparison between the two games. And again, what we kind of argue on our broadcast, and we have for quite some time watching a lot of Region 9 basketball here on 1480 K-Ray, that consistency with officials is not really there. But again, for you as a head coach, how do you adjust to that, where one crew's going to call everything under the sun, the other crew's going to let your guys play? Do you adjust on the fly as the game's going on? Do you have a plan when you know those refs are in play for your game? I mean, how do you adjust to, again,
their style?
Yeah, just your style, absolutely.
Unlike Ayana, she's just kind of her first year in this conference, so that may not know some of the referees and some things like that. A lot of the guys I've been around these guys for a long time. So when they walk in the gym and I can see who the crew is, I somewhat know how that game's going to be called. Obviously, you get some surprises here and there, but I somewhat know how that game's going to be called. You got to adjust on the fly. You got to, take that first 2, 3, 4 minutes to see how they're going to call the game, and then, we have to be smart and adjust to how they're going to call the game. Like you said, some guys let you play, some guys call it pretty tight. Some guys, when you have a guy out there who's going to miss a lot of stuff or just doesn't call a lot of stuff, you have to adjust to that. I thought that the referees in Western Wyoming's game, I thought they, for the most part, they refereed a good basketball game. When you're down by 20 and you're scrambling to come back in the games, and you're being a little bit more aggressive, you're going to pick up some fouls that you normally wouldn't pick up just because you're in scramble mode. So you're going to pick up a few more. The loss against Western Wyoming had absolutely nothing to do with the referees. It had everything to do with you can't get down by 20 in the first half and expect to come back against a good basketball team. Now, we did a good job of coming back, getting that cut to a one-possession game. I think that just shows you how talented we are when we're locked in. But I didn't think it was a bad referee game. I think that it magnifies when you are trying to come back, and then every call now is really, really big. So I think that was more of it than being a bad referee game. I put it this way: it wasn't out of the ordinary, the game. So whether we think it was good or bad, it wasn't really that much out of the ordinary.
But Coach, when we have those issues of consistency of calls and again for your players, how much does that affect kind of the player psyche where, again, we'll use Nolan Coswell as an example where, hey, Coach, you taught me to play this way, or I'm doing exactly how you taught me to play, on the inside, and refs aren't calling it, or they're calling everything under the sun. Does that play a factor, though, into your athletes to say, again, hey, Coach, you taught me this. I thought this was correct, but now the referees are telling me it's incorrect. Is that also too something to kind of worry about with your student athletes?
Definitely, and your kids have to be strong enough, mentally strong enough to make those adjustments. Nolan has done a better job of making those adjustments. Derek Harden still hasn't made those adjustments. in the basketball game. Against Central, they let him play a little bit. Against Western, they didn't let Derek bump and use his athleticism and his size to his advantage. The one guy on our team, in my opinion, who kind of gets the short end of the stick is Xavier McCord. Xavier puts it on the deck, drives to the hole. Because he's so strong, he never gets knocked off of his line. So he plays through a lot of fouls, and referees allow him to play through those fouls and don't call those fouls against him. That's really the one guy that I can say gets kind of the short end of the stick for just being bigger, stronger, faster than most of the people he's going up against. And you know how it is. So when you're not getting those fouls, when Xavier is not getting those foul calls, the referee, the players on the other team can come at him a little bit harder because they know that the referees aren't going to somewhat bail him out. So he's kind of really the only guy that I truly believe night in and night out should live at the foul line, and he doesn't.
Coach, I'm going to go one more time with Western Wyoming, then put that to rest. The three-headed monster that has been there for 3 years, Trevor Trost, Trey Pierce, and Dane Prim, they reared their ugly head against us. And you and myself had this discussion. Pierce has really picked up his game a little bit as far as shooting is concerned. Trost is steady Eddie as he always has been. But I thought, going back and looking at the game itself, that Dane Prim, he's turned himself into that complete player, and as an added bonus, he likes to get into your head to our guys on the court. He's still a little mouthy, but for Steve Souza, he basically has brought the game 180 from the last time I seen him. He's that complete player now.
There's a reason he's an All-American. He does a good job. He definitely, you look at every night. He doesn't really have off nights unless it's a foul trouble issue. So he doesn't really have off nights. In the first half of that game, against us, all three of those guys had unbelievable first halves, against us. The second half, we got a little bit more physical with those guys, and they didn't have the same second half. But they did enough damage. They did enough damage the first half, so they didn't really didn't have to. You got three players like that. They're gonna, and the biggest thing about them, like you mentioned, is all three of those guys have unbelievable experience and big time experience as far as playing in big time games, getting to the national tournament when they were freshmen. So all three of those guys have big time experience. And when you're talking about junior college, sometimes you've got 3-year guys going up against freshmen. It makes a difference.
Coach, as we move past this weekend's games, where for LCCC on the men's side, 1-1 in North Plague, and you picked up double-digit victories with the win up in Central Wyoming. But now, as you mentioned early on, Coach, hey, now we get into the top dog team. And again, hopefully, fingers crossed, this game still happens coming up tomorrow night. They're live at the Rack. But let's preview it as if the game's still happening. Casper College, the Thunderbirds, where in the preseason they got tested and kind of they've been battle tested, similar to what we kind of talked about with McCook on the Indian side. What do you look out for? Is Casper equivalent to teams that we've seen so far of an Otero or Western Wyoming? And what is it going to take for us to at least get the victory at home against those Casper Thunderbirds?
They are a good team. I mean, they have been battle tested. They have played a lot of, top 25 teams as we have. So they definitely have, they always do step out of their comfort zone, so to speak, and play some really, really good teams. They're athletic. They're just as big as we are. So, we're not going to run into a lot of teams this year that has the size that we have. They're one of the teams that do. They shoot the ball okay. They're not a great three-point shooting team, but they shoot it well enough to keep you honest at about 36% on the year. So that's a pretty good clip. They got two players that I think are just outstanding Division I transfers. We're gonna have to really concentrate and follow our scouting report against these guys, and I think we'll be okay. We don't have to do anything special. We don't have to do anything special. We don't have to play a perfect game. We just got to come out and play our basketball game. And if we play our basketball game, I like our chances. Doesn't matter who we play.
And Coach, final thought for me, and again, we appreciate you joining us today on the Pro Show, where if it does happen, if we do have to postpone tomorrow night's game again, if we do have those COVID positive players with the LCCC basketball program, anticipated date, remake for that Casper game, but also, too, on top of that, Coach, where does that put Northwest coming up Saturday at home? Does that also, too, get wiped out on the schedule if we do have those positive tested players?
You know just as much as I do. I have no idea when we would reschedule. I have no idea what would happen to Saturday's game. I guess mostly of Saturday's game would probably depend on when our quarantine starts. We have a 4 or 5 day quarantine or 5-day quarantine, and so a lot of that would depend on that. When that quarantine starts, and it's gonna turn into trying to stick those games in whenever you can. Now, if we don't play it, it will be a home game, so that's kind of a good thing for us that we would, whenever it was, we would have a home game. But you just, at this point, you just have no idea when those games are going. If we miss, when those games are going to be made up, when they're going to be. We just know that they will be made up because our conference has decided that we will try our best to make those games up.
Final thought from me too, and I'm glad that Nick and you were discussing that, because I'm sitting here today. It's January 25th. We're slated to play on January 26th. Our windows are getting smaller, and I recall when you said, hey, we played all these games in X amount of days, which is not good for our student athletes and good on the body. But are we kind of running thin on these dates right now? And again, we know Coach Mack lost one, and that's going to be made up soon. But if heaven forbid we lose 2 games here this weekend, that's really going to put a tight window on us heading down the stretch.
It does, especially when you talk about a team like Northwest, who has to travel so far, has to come from such a long distance. So we would have to somehow look at their schedule to see when they're in this area again and able to pick up a game. So let's just hope let's hope and pray that we can get these games in this weekend. But like you said, I think Larry and Nick, I think that we're going to be looking at whether it's this weekend or whenever from either us or another team. I think you're going to be looking at playing 2-3 games in a week to try to make sure we get this done. And like you said, it's really not good on our athletes, but we're it's kind of the times we live in and kind of where we're at right now.
All righty, Coach. Well, we got our fingers crossed, toes crossed, eyes crossed, legs crossed. Oh, that means I got to go to the bathroom. Anyway, other than that, we got everything crossed, and hopefully we will be able to get tomorrow night's game in. And it should be a good one because, I know that we have all these teams in our Northern Conference, but this Casper rivalry that we've had in years past, at least in the years I've covered, this thing's never over until the Final Horn.
No, if you can remember last year, we got up on them by 20 points, 19 points or something like that, and it came down to a last-second shot that they made in the corner there where Ash kind of fouled that guy, and he goes to the line and makes a couple of free throws, and then they're, down at their place, it was a really close game, and Region 9 is just so tough. So there's no easy games, there's no days, there's no nights off, there's no night off. So hopefully we can play. I'm excited to play it. I know our guys are excited to get back on the court after the other night, and I know Coach, the coaches at Casper, and I know they're ready to get down here. So I'm hoping we can get it going.
Will there be a time change, or are we still slated for 7:30?
Still slated for 7:30.
All right, sounds good. Coach, thank you so much. Appreciate you giving us some time today. And again, fingers crossed that all tests come back negative.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Always good.
All right. Head coach DeWayne Saulsberry, the LCCC Golden Eagles, joined us here on 1480 K-Ray. We will be back with more of the Pro Show after we take a timeout. Thanks for joining us.
We are the key to your cleaning success. The Key People that provides affordable office and professional cleaning services for over 40 years with exceptional customer care. All of our contractors have background checks and are licensed and bonded. We guarantee you a safe and secure service that is tailored to your individual and business needs. The Key People do not impose year-long contracts, and all quotes are free, confidential, and personalized. Call the Key People at 1-800-468-8283. That's 1-800-468-8283.
Capital Lumber is number one in Cheyenne. Are you listening? We're all the lumber store you'll ever need. For electrical, plumbing, paint, and tools, lumber and hardware, we're for you. And we're out to earn your business, yes indeed. Capital Lumber is number one today. Are you listening? Capital Lumber's at your service all the way.
Remember, for all your lumber and hardware needs, stop at the family-owned and operated Capital Lumber Company at 1222 Dunn Avenue in Cheyenne. Winter driving in Wyoming. Are you prepared? Winter storms strike quickly across Wyoming's high plains and the mountains. When they do, driving conditions can deteriorate rapidly and become very challenging. Make sure your vehicle is ready for the elements and you have an emergency preparedness kit available. Driving on slick roads, always remember slower speed, acceleration, steering, and braking. Also turn off the cruise control and always buckle up. Ice and snow. Take it slow. Know before you go. For travel info, call 511 or online at wyoroad.info. Paid for by Federal Highway Safety Funds.
The worst of times can bring out the best in each of us. Doctors, nurses, and frontline workers have labored selflessly to keep us safe during the health crisis of our lifetime. How do we thank these heroes? It's simple. Get your COVID vaccine so we can end this pandemic. Variants are on the rise, and we don't want to put these heroes through another health crisis. They have given their all. Now it's up to you. Please do your part. For you, for them, for us.
This message sponsored by the Helmsley Charitable Trust, aired with the Wyoming Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Happy New Year from Lee and Absolute Flooring. New year, new floor? What a great idea. Absolute Flooring is here to offer you the best selections of styles, colors, and prices in all types of flooring. In-store specials and no-interest financing will help make your dream of new flooring come true. Come see Absolute Flooring in the Cheyenne Plaza next to Sears Hometown. Check our Valpak coupon and visit us at AbsoluteFlooringWIO.com. It's always your home, your floor, your store, absolutely.
LCCC is for traditional and non-traditional students, virtual learners, and in-person and hands-on learners, first-time students, and professionals seeking a new path. With accessible, affordable learning opportunities and coursework designed to guide students toward a successful career, LCCC is where you find the confidence and learn the skills to turn what you think you can do into what you know you can accomplish. Take the first step to a new opportunity. Visit lccc.wy.edu and find your path today.
Now that the colder weather is upon us, it's more important than ever to make sure that your brakes on your vehicle are operating at 100%. So if you've noticed a grinding or squeaking noise every time you brake, then it's high time you stop into the brake stop at 1622 East Lincoln Way, where Wayne and his crew will fit your car or truck with the best brakes to go along with the best service and best price. Wherever your travels take you, and whatever weather Mother Nature throws at you, you can always feel confident that the brakes on your vehicle came from the brake stop. Call 307-514-6231 or drop by to 1622 East Lincoln Way in Cheyenne.
Here's the latest weather forecast on 1480 K-Ray.
Well, the wise for today, mostly cloudy. Expect the daytime high near 22. Blustery conditions, northerly winds at 10 to 20. A slight chance for snow flurries this afternoon. For tonight, partly cloudy or low drop down to 8 degrees. And for tomorrow, Wednesday, sunshine and windy. Expect the daytime high near 40 degrees. Winds will be southwesterly, 25 to 30, gusting as high as 40 miles per hour.
This is 1480 KRAE Cheyenne.
Also being heard on translator K266CC Cheyenne at 101.1 FM.
Right now on 1480 K-Ray, it's time for the Pro Show, featuring the only father and son sports talk show talking about the local sports scene as we take a look back and look ahead to upcoming events around our area. The Pro Show is on now, right here on 1480 K-Ray.
And welcome to our second half hour here of the ProShow. Larry Proietti, along with Nick Proietti, hour and a half, I should say. We are waiting on our next guest. I know she had a meeting and asked if she could drop back here to noon. So hopefully she will be in here in just a little bit. And we're talking about Coach Ayana McWilliams, Coach Mack of LCCC.
Coach Mack is dealing outside of the meeting, which, again, assuming regarding the cancellation of the games, and also, too, again, where we do have word
postponement.
I should say postponement, where, again, they will at least reschedule at a point in time that Casper contest here in town, which was supposed to happen yesterday, or at least tomorrow at 5:30 in the rack. But I got to imagine that also, too, she's dealing with a lot where, again, a couple of her athletes did test positive. So, again, it is within the program that, again, she's got to deal with that and figure out quarantine and all this other stuff. So, again, probably a busy day for her. But, again, she has said that she is still available to join us. So, hopefully she will here in the studio, around this time. But, anyways, I do want to mention, or at least recap what DeWayne had to say, that, again, so far, few negatives have kind of trickled in from his men's program, but again, still waiting for a good bulk of tests, at least to trickle on in. Casper tomorrow, men, that's the only potential game right now, and I say potential because due to the fact that we are still awaiting those test results out of the men's program. 7:30, still the tip-off time. Again, will be the only game happening here live on K-Ray. Obviously, again, if we do hear word, which, again, we will, by end of today by Coach Saulsberry, that either it's a yay or nay, we will pass it along on our social media site. So, again, 1480 K-Ray's Facebook page, also, too, over on Twitter at ProMan56NP. How you find me over on the Twitter side. Also, too, we can put up a little blurbs on our YouTube channel as well, too. So, again, stay tuned to our social media sites, the Pro Shows as well, too. Find the Pro Show on Facebook. Just simply search for that. Again, give us a like, give us a follow. So, again, we will keep you updated, again, for Wednesday's contest, Saturdays, if there will be games. Again, Northwest is coming into town. As of right now, again, don't know if the women are playing. Don't know if the men are going to be playing that. But, again, fingers crossed that we will. Also, too, if we do have any high school cancellation, which right now we do have Thursday games upcoming. Again, Laramie, the Lady Plainsmen, and also, too, the Plainsmen will be in town over at Cheyenne South. So the first time we'll have high school basketball, the first time we will see Cheyenne South. Myself and Grant Storbo live from at least Fine Bison Gymnasium there on the campus of Cheyenne South. So looking forward to that. Again, that's tentative for this Thursday. But, again, even high school is being affected by COVID right now. So, again, we will keep you updated as we know information if we have these games.
I'm hoping that this Omicron is on the downside and it's starting to work its way out of here, because the numbers we're seeing now are getting somewhat less, not by huge bulk amounts, but like I said, hopefully it's working its way out of here and we can start getting back to some normalcy. Do want to mention, we made some phone calls yesterday after the story broke about the Cheyenne Central High School situation.
I.e. me.
Me too, and finding out what we can, but what we can tell you on the football situation with head coach Mike Apodaca, not much.
Yeah,
there's not much we can add. Really, nobody wants to say much right now because it sounds like it's legal.
Let's not say that they don't, or how about let's
They're
put
being requested
let's
not
put
to
it out where, again, I received text messages yesterday, again, as we updated on the Chad Whitworth message from yesterday, at least on K-Ray Reports. But, again, Chad Whitworth, AD at Cheyenne Central, again, reached out to him to at least join us for today, or, again, any show that we offer here on K-Ray to talk about this Central High football situation. He, under personal reasons, will not address, or, again, will not chat with us. And then also, too, did hear back from later in the day from head coach Mike Apodaca that, again, he would love to, but unfortunately at this time he is not going to chat with us. So, again, don't anticipate he will with any other entities around the state. Again, obviously, yes, it is probably legal ramifications going on right now, legal precedents, especially with it going up to that legislative level here in the state of Wyoming. So, this is going to be a process that's going to probably take some time. It is something that for Cheyenne Central, this could have an interesting ripple effect. Again, we don't know much going on right now. Again, we just have the bare bones of what is happening with the football program. But with Cheyenne Central, it is something that we probably won't know what will happen for weeks, if not months.
I think after hearing as much as I heard yesterday, and again, I'm not going to go by the hearsay. I have a feeling where it's going to wrap up with Dr. Crespo, our superintendent of public instruction. So I don't think it's going to get into the legislature, even though they have been advised of all of this. I think it stops right at the superintendent of public instruction here in Laramie County School District number 1.
And reached out to Dr. Crespo, again, superintendent of at least Laramie County School District number 1. Again, she's been on our show before. Again, hopefully we will have that opportunity to chat with her to get at least get her thoughts and, again, what the next step is for the situation where, again, this is, allegations at this point. Obviously, an investigation will need to happen, and then we will see what the ramifications are. Again, is it sour grapes as we kind of put on one scenario, or is this a true, is this something that was, again, a very heinous act that happened, a part of this football program, where if that is true, admin and also to staff, or at least part of that coaching staff, they got to go if that is true.
Right now, everything's all question mark, question mark, question mark, and we're going to leave it at that. But we are going to talk with Lady Golden Eagles head coach, Ayana McWilliams, and Coach Mack sent me a text last night after our coaches show, no less, saying, ain't game canceled or postponed. Now you got me saying it. Game postponed against the Lady Thunderbirds. And Coach Mack, first, welcome to the program. We appreciate you coming down. She had to sneak in a little later, had a meeting. I'm venturing to say probably discussing COVID. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. But anyway, let's talk about our Lady Golden Eagles. We had a three that tested positive, so you had to say, no, we can't do this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, we did have a couple kids test positive, so we just don't have enough. We don't have the bodies to be able to compete this tomorrow.
So at least with Casper, that game has now been postponed. Where do we stand again? We know that the quarantine recommended by the CDC is at 5 days. Does that now affect also to the Northwest game on Saturday? Where we stand with that?
More than likely, it would affect Saturday. We were hopeful that we'd be able to be out of quarantine if you counted yesterday on Friday, but unfortunately, it may actually lead into Saturday. So at this point, I'm thinking Saturday is going to be canceled or postponed as well.
I mentioned this with Coach Saulsberry, and again, too, we live in a different world.
Yeah.
And, being a former player and now coach, you can relate to routines. And you have a schedule that you like to keep.
Right.
Do you continue some of that schedule right now with who's available, or do you have anybody available to get out there and practice?
We don't have enough to get out and have a actual practice at this point. Honestly, we just allow the girls to first and foremost just get healthy, and then we'll try to reschedule these games. And right now it's looking like it's going to be a Monday in February. It does make the February schedule a little bit tougher because we'll be playing a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday type deal, but at the end of the day, I think the kids will be grateful just for the opportunity to continue to compete.
And your lady, let me finish here. Your Lady Golden Eagles were so successful this weekend. Good performances at both at CWC and as well as Western Wyoming. Boy, just when you start getting that momentum, boom, the tire goes flat on you. It has to drive you and even the kids really nuts right now.
Yeah, honestly, it is deflating a little bit, but at the same time, it's one of those things. You have to face adversity and try to overcome it. But the most important thing is just getting healthy.
Coach, how, again, you're getting this opportunity for those to get healthy, again, recover from COVID, and also to, again, any nagging injuries that we have accrued throughout this preseason and now getting into conference play. But, again, we talk about stacking up February with a lot of games. How much does that worry you that short amount of time to recover, we're getting into those battles with some top dog teams, especially with the Casper Lady Thunderbirds, again, nationally ranked as of right now. Does that worry you that fatigue, injury could at least accrue during these kind of large amount of games in a short amount of time?
Yeah, no, it's very possible. But as you saw in November, we had sort of the kind of same thing where we're playing a lot of back-to-back games. But again, we talked about that being, the thing that helped us down the stretch. and now we're going to face another November, technically here in February. And we'll just have to make some adjustments on the coaching side. We won't log as many practice hours and different things like that. But there's ways to kind of adjust to this. But it's not going to be an easy feat.
Let's talk about this past weekend's contest. Again, at Riverton and Western Wyoming. Right now you sit 2-0 in division play. Again, we were hoping to go 3-0 coming up tomorrow night against Casper, the Lady Thunderbirds. But, again, we'll be on delay till next week. But, again, let's start with Saturday with Western Wyoming, where, again, yes, Western, again, a little down. Again, we've seen this Lady Mustangs team where they struggle. And, again, they're a team that on paper you should beat. But in that game, and we made that comment where for 4 quarters your team played damn near perfect basketball, that if that team replicates what they did and had that chance coming up tomorrow night, you could be upsetting that Casper Lady Thunderbirds team.
Honestly, like you just said, you said on paper, and honestly for me, on paper sometimes it don't always, guarantee that you're going to be in the situation that you're in. That's why we approach every game and every opponent one game at a time. This is a very tough region, and I give hats off to Western Wyoming because, again, I thought they truly battled. It wasn't easy going into their place and winning the way we did, but, again, our girls stepped up to the challenge, and I thought put together a solid game plan, honestly. And, we would hope to have come out tomorrow and kind of do the same thing on our home court. But I guess that'll be delayed, and hopefully we can,
You know, Coach Mack, what I liked about the trip this Thursday and Saturday, and we still had to kick off a little bit of that rust. It took us about, 5 minutes into the first quarter at Riverton at CWC to kick off that rust. But I thought for 7.5 quarters – against the Lady Rustlers and, again, over against the Lady Mustangs, we played very consistent basketball, very, again, good shot selections, good boarding, good ball movement. I mean, this is stuff that you diagram on the board, and I think the young ladies rose to the occasion.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's really tough playing on the road. It doesn't matter, who you're playing against or where you're going. It's really tough to play on the road. And, again, like you said, I thought the girls actually, they played well once we were able to kind of settle into what we wanted to do. It's good to be able to move the ball around from side to side and get different shots for different people. And like I told you before, we have a small roster, and every kid every night is expected to kind of bring what they have.
But when they execute the plan, that's where the dividends get paid. And again, how do you relay that message? Hey, ladies, see what I said? This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I always preach the same message, honestly, and we go and attack every game with the same approach, honestly. It's about our defensive mindset. And as you saw in Riverton, I thought the second half defensively, we were able to find a way to make some defensive stops that led to offensive opportunities. And when you allow yourself to do that, that builds the confidence now when you're driving to the basket, kick out, and now kids are starting to feel a little bit better about their shots. It builds the confidence. So, again, I think starting in the second half of that Riverton game, it kind of trickled over into Western Wyoming as well.
Player that we've seen in years past, again, under a couple of other head coaches here of this program, but, again, she's been kind of old reliable for the Lady Golden Eagles. Again, that's Sam Hester, again, our athlete of the week. We had a chance to talk with her on the LCCC Coaches Show last night where, beginning, or at least let's at least turn it back in time where, again, she was the offensive powerhouse for LCCC. Again, she was that reliable piece to get about a good 15 points, 20 points per game. Again, she was that centerpiece for the Lady Golden Eagles. Move here to 2021, offense took a back seat, but defense really stepped it up. But now as we get into conference play, we see the old Sam of old where that offensive piece is back, but, again, defense still stayed. Talk about, again, what she was able to do for those 2 victories here in division play.
That's what, again, you call a true leader. A leader's willing to sacrifice what the team needs. And early on, we needed Samantha to defend. And, again, we didn't take shots away from her. Her team just didn't need her to score in those early contests. And then this weekend, again, on a rough road trip, being that leader, she had an opportunity to kind of do both, and that's what leaders do. They step into the role that's asked of them. And, again, she's been a kid that has, for me, I feel like been super consistent. The difference between last year's roster and this year's roster, we obviously have more kids that can kind of put the ball in the goal. So you just have to tip your hat to that kid just for being and playing the role that her team needs her to play.
Riley Van Tassel, former Cheyenne South product, who starts for you at the pivot. And, again, she's starting to now go up against younger ladies or young ladies that are a couple 3 inches taller than her. But she's getting support now. And one of the young ladies that finally made it over, Jamie DeCoke, she's finding her stroke. Aria Bledna adds a little muscle underneath, and Hallie Hester also comes in there. But again, I think Riley now feels like, hey, there's a little bit of weight that she doesn't have to do it all, and she's got now a good supporting cast behind her.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Again, this is the time right now where you want your team to be peaking. And I feel like we are. We're having more kids being able to step up on a daily basis, and that does take some pressure off of Riley now. She doesn't have to feel pressured to doing anything. Now her role now is basically defending when you got other kids that are able to contribute on the offensive, on the offensive stats.
We throw out Air Force prep. Let's just throw that out altogether. But with Laya Balcells running the offense right now, and we saw that both in Riverton as well as at Rock Springs. The turnovers. Again, she has good concept of what you want to run, and again, she finds those open folks to put the biscuit in the basket.
Definitely, it's been Laya's game pretty much the entire year. We've always relied on her to obviously get us control the flow of the game for us, but also play more fluently where she's not turning the ball over and that type of thing. But again, her play is elevated when the players around her play is elevated.
And she never panics. I really enjoy watching her, whether there's backcourt pressure or she's just trotting it down over the timeline. She's got that same demeanor about her all the time, and again, she's always looking around on the court for somebody.
Yeah, she's our captain, she's our quarterback, and we always look to her. If she's flustered, then everybody else will be flustered. So the attitude or the facial expression and her body language and all that kind of stuff is always looked upon.
We talk about taking care of the ball on our end. Again, turnovers, again, quiet them down, at least for LCCC. But on the defensive side, we were really stepping up, especially, again, most notably against Western Wyoming, where, again, steals aplenty in that game. Again, you saw a couple officers in Rock Springs kind of poke their head and going, what's going on here? A lot of stealing happened on. But you got to feel proud that your defense on that side really stepping up, really, again, just picking the pocket of any team right now here in Region 9.
Yeah, and I said this before. When your offense come and go, the defense has to travel, and that's been our philosophy since day one, and I'm excited. And again, the kids are starting to see that now. When you're able to defend and get stops, you give yourself a chance to be successful in ball games, and honestly, it's been a creator of easy offensive possessions for us.
So what do we do right now, Coach, as we're in this limbo mode, again, dealing with the COVID, at least positive players right now, part of your squad that can't really practice with them. You're not going to practice with the amount that you have right now because, again, you don't have that numbers right now. Do you as a coach say, hey, for those quarantined right now, here, try to get as much exercise in your room? I mean, what do we do to keep these athletes kind of fresh, game ready, and not take an entire 5-day week off that, again, we have to deal with rust once again going into next
week. You can only watch so much Price is Right.
Well, yeah, no, this is definitely a new grounds for me, and I'm just trying to come up with ways. But I talked to my staff this morning. I think what we'll do is we'll use some of these days as video days where we can go in and catch up on some film work, so that way when we're actually able to step back on the court, that we don't lose too much focus, and we can still kind of game plan a little bit and look at the different things there. For the kids that are quarantined in their room, my hope is that if they're feeling well enough, that they will try to do some things on their own, the best they can, obviously. But again, we won't try to take the whole 5 days off. We'll try to find ways to, seize the moment.
I'm thinking? Nerf ball and the basket in the room, and that way they can still keep up with their shot. Coach, real quick, you like to look at your next opponent. You were obviously preparing for Casper College. The Lady Thunderbirds, nationally ranked. Tell us a little bit what you saw with Coach Ganeri's team. They are the total package.
Yeah, a very well-coached team. I was talking to DeWayne about this before, is that they don't change. I've seen them up 11 and I've seen them down 11. They just don't change. They continue to just kind of hammer away at teams, and that can be scary going into it. It obviously challenged us to make sure we play to the best of our ability for the 40 minutes. But again, they're just a team that don't change. They're in your face. They run a little 5-out offense where they get like a lot of kids involved. They're running through about 11-man roster at this point, and we have 11 total on our roster. But at the same time, this is a team that doesn't change much.
Let me just follow up on that. Do you now focus on Northwest? Do you take a look at them, or this one's going to go bye-bye and we'll look at our next opponent after that?
Yesterday, when I realized that tomorrow would be canceled, I did start to look ahead at Northwest, and now I think I'm going to go ahead and look a little bit further ahead, with hopes that maybe if just depending on how the girls are feeling, and once the end of like Friday, Saturday get here, hopefully maybe we'll get one of these two, either Casper or Northwest on Monday, would be the initial hope. And if that doesn't work, then obviously, we have to look ahead to next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday we'll be on the road at Torrington against EWC. So, again, that's where the reality stands, especially with COVID still existing. And, again, still kind of wreaking havoc on schedules, whether it's us, again, even in the north, south, dealing with a lot of issues. So far, again, here we stand 2-0, and that's the important record right now. Again, we are undefeated in at least in North Division play. Again, having that opportunity to, again, host the Region 9 tourney here at the RAC. Again, Casper, we know they're that consistent team. They are going to be a target. They're going to be expected around the region to at least get that title. Outside of Casper, and from the short amount of times of divisional play, what other teams kind of stand out to you, Coach, that might be vying for that title along with us as well?
Listen, I actually in the first half of the season, I never really looked that far ahead. But now that I've had a chance to watch a lot of teams in this division, it's a tough region. There's no easy night on our schedule from here on out. And honestly, I feel like we have some really great coaches in the league. It can literally be anyone. Northwest, they've been playing some solid basketball, I think. Most of these coaches, again, in the league have been able to get their kids to at least compete, and that's the scary part. It has nothing to do with who's on your roster, how many superstars and all that things. It's are you able to show up that night and play to your game plan? And like I said, on any given night in this region, I think any team could come on top.
And I think that's a fair point, where we saw at least previous Wednesday that Western Wyoming team on the road at Torrington, again, had a lead at a point in time against EWC, but unfortunately lost that game. So, again, a team that sits right now at the bottom of the region almost pulled off that quote-unquote upset.
You know, Coach, again, as we live in a different world now, and coaches usually take care of, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, but you've got so much on your plate. You and Coach Saulsberry, all the coaches over there. How much now do you lean on interim athletic director Dr. Cindy Henning? Because obviously, and I've seen her calendar a couple times where there's scratch outs. I mean, she has to go through there with a magic marker. An erase to get everything taken care of. But how much do you lean on her now to be an assistant to you? Because again, like you mentioned, if we play Casper College, she's going to have to get people scheduled in, referees. We have to get personnel to sit down and take care of the clock. How much do you lean on her now to help out?
A ton. I promise you, I've leaned on her since I've arrived. Honestly, obviously she's been here. She knows the ropes, and if there's anything that I ever needed, she's always the first person that I contact, and she's always the first one that can point me in the right direction if she can't help me herself. Her role right now, her job right now is hard, because after our conversation last night, knowing that tomorrow's canceled, she's the first one to pick up the phone and start to put things in play. She'll have to do the same thing again now that Saturday may be in jeopardy, pick up the phone and put things in play. But she has no easy role here. She's been a major contributor in everything that we do, and like I said, she's been a big shoulder for me to lean on.
And obviously, again, once we get the information, whether it's men, women's basketball for LCCC, again, with our broadcast, as we've committed to cover every game, home, on, and road for LCCC, again, once we get those updates from you, we will send that on our social media sites, as, again, I mentioned early at the top of the hour, so, again, look for that. So, again, right now, Wednesday, only men as of now. Saturday up in the air, potentially a doubleheader, but again, that might be out of the works too.
You're thinking Saturday's going to be a loss.
I'm thinking Saturday's going to be a loss. The first date we would maybe be available to play is Monday. This upcoming Monday.
So
the 31st.
maybe the men on both Wednesday and Saturday.
But either way, tune into our social media sites where, again, we will give you those updates where, again, it's still here. It's still wreaking havoc. And, again, who knows how many other – again, that's the other thing, the frustrating thing, coaches, again, it's going through our program, but it might go to Northwest. It might go through EWC where, again, we know that there is a cutoff date before that Region 9 tournament. Again, as we talked with interim athletic director Dr. Cindy Hinney about it, where there is a specific date that we have to get these games in. Do we worry that we may lose games because, again, here we are getting into February, that things out of our control where, again, other teams or our teams testing positive, we just don't have time, and we're not playing 5 games in 5 days in a row?
No, honestly, it is out of our control, but I can assure you that both coaches on both sides want the games to be played, and we'll try to get them in at the best of our ability. Worst case scenario, we play a back-to-back or something like that, but at the end of the day, we will try to everything in our power to at least schedule the games, and if it doesn't work out, then we have to look at, plan B.
There's the update for the ladies. LCCC Golden Eagles head coach Ayana McWilliams joining us here on 1480K. We appreciate it, Coach. And
Thank
again,
you.
Fingers crossed that we're back on the floor at least by Monday. We got to wrap up the Pro Show, so thank you again to DeWayne Saulsberry joining us, and Athletic Director over the University of Wyoming, Tom Burman, joining us last hour. Do appreciate both those folks, too, being a part of the Pro Show. So for Nick Proietti, I'm Larry Proietti. We wrap things up, and hopefully we'll have a hoop game for you coming up from the rack tomorrow evening. That's going to do it. We now return to regular program.